तं नमामि। नित्यं शुद्धं निराकारं निराभासं निरञ्जनं नित्यबोधं चिदानन्दं गुरुं ब्रह्म नमाम्यहम्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं येन कृत्स्नं चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चिद्रूपेण परिव्याप्तं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सर्वश्रुतिशिरोरत्न समुद्भासितमूर्तये आत्मज्ञानाग्निदानेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चैतन्यः शाश्वतः शान्तो व्योमातीतो निरञ्जनः बिन्दुनादकलातीत तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ज्ञानशक्तिसमारूढस्तत्त्वमाला विभूषित भुक्तिमुक्तिप्रदाता च तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अनेकजन्मसम्प्राप्ता कर्मेन्धनविदाहिने आत्मज्ञानाग्निदानेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। शोषणं भवसिन्धोश्च प्रापणं सारसम्पदः यस्य पादोदकं सम्यक् तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः।
So, welcome, Krisha. It's only you and me somehow today. So, yeah, okay, maybe we take a few moments letting others join. So, I think we can start. Welcome, everyone, and thank you for tuning in, joining in today to reflect upon and also to understand human love and its defects, its weaknesses, and how to transcend. So, last time we had started with this article or essay by Nalini Kant Gupta, a disciple of Sri Aurobindo, and it's a Bengali article. It's called Manush Bhajan, to love man. And we had touched upon a few aspects, and then we were on this last we touched upon this passage where he was talking about the few weaknesses in human love and how it uh, kind of we it makes us getting stuck in these two aspects. So I thought maybe we could go over them again and then share a bit of our reflections and then take it further to the other passages ahead. So let us just have an overlap. Although we had read this one, the last paragraph in front of me, we have read that last time, but I think it will be nice just to go over the underlined lines this time again to have an overlap. So, would anyone want to read? I would recommend reading only the underlined part so that we don't get lost too much. Anyone feels ready to maybe read it aloud for all of us? Okay, I can go ahead if no one can. Indeed, as we go to love the divine, we see that a lot of botherations concomitant to love man has been cleared. So he was sharing that when we turn to the divine, feeling that our satisfactions that we want through human love cannot be satisfied in man, then we turn to the divine. And he sees that when we turn to the divine, then a few of the botherations that become our entanglements in human love, they get cleared up, that we don't have to bother about them. So then he talks about these two possibilities, these two aspects that make us stuck. Human love has two dangers which are at the root of all dissatisfaction. Just a second. Yeah. So we see, I think all of us have experienced human love, I'm sure. So human love has two dangers which are at the root of all dissatisfaction. First is the attraction of body. I think we all know that. And second is the feeling of mine, that I possess this person. So a feeling of domination. And also this comes very naturally with those of us who have children. The wanting, the feeling of wanting to possess our child, that he belongs to me. So attraction of the body, also in terms of, I think, romantic relationships also, it comes very naturally that one is attracted to the body and hence to physical intimacy and all sorts of things that go along with that. So an attachment through that aspect, and the attachment through the feeling of mine, that if now I love this person, it means that I want this person, I want control over his life. So that these are the two weaknesses of human love, which are taken care of when we turn to the divine. That divine doesn't have a body and the divine, yeah, so the attraction of body falls away, and the feeling of mind, this wanting to possess, also falls away, because divine is not an object that I can possess, so that also falls away. So the feeling of mind domination also falls away when we turn to the divine. So I love so and so means that he or she is mine, exclusively mine, and nobody else. Nobody else has any right over him or her. He or she is my favorite and my property. So I shall do whatever I like with him or her. This is what happens with human love. But this attitude has only one consequence. As I proceed a bit with this attitude, I find that the person whom I love is not by any means becoming mine that way. So I think through our practical experiences in love, we know that the more we try to possess a person, the more we lose the person. Yeah. Just like if you hold water in your hands and you hold the water tightly, so the water slips away out of our grasp. But if you want to really hold the water, we have to hold it like in our palms, very very gently, so that it stays. If we try to do this, then it goes away. So such is what happens with our relationships also. The more we want to possess and try to have and consume the relationship, it somehow never can be consumed and withers away from our hands. Man is not a piece of coin that I shall keep confined in a box. And also to respect that each person has their own, dynamic being, and just like as I have my own likings, preferences, that person also have their own likings, preferences, and those also have to be respected. So he says that here towards the end. When I perceive that everyone else is a living, conscious, and a dynamic being like myself, having his or her own will, choice, attraction, and demand. So I may be attracted to somebody else, but it is not sure that that person will also be attracted to me. That person may be attracted to somebody else. So that I think it's very common to see this happening, that each one has their own soft spots, and we can't force anyone to love or like anyone. Somehow this can't be forced, and because of this, result is jealousy, separation, despair, and indifference. I am loving the person, but the other person doesn't give me that much attention that I crave from the other person. So this becomes a lot of turmoil, especially in the younger age groups, as a teenager or young adults. When we begin to explore this side of us, this becomes very frustrating, because we approach love from this aspect that if I love, I need to be loved back, and that too loved back in the way that I want to be loved back. So that really brings us down, again and again. Yeah. And same thing with the wanting physical intimacy. So the more we indulge into it, the more we become addicted to it for our own satisfaction, the more we are still hungry, still thirsty. It doesn't satisfy if we become too obsessed with it. So that is where we last ended. This is just was an overlap that I was taking. So any reflections, any additions here, anyone?
Hi there.
Yes, Jayashree, please go ahead.
Uh, I also have this expectation of like why the other person does not treat me the way I do, and वो इतना ज़्यादा hurt करता है. I think I am always uh, emotionally very weak from the beginning. तो बहुत टाइम यही सब दिमाग में पूरे दिन मेरा चलता है कि आई डोंट इवन कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन माई डेली का काम. And sometimes I feel, how do I come out of it? And वो पूरा दिन मेरा चलता ही रहता है. It's not that कि I don't read good books and all, but I feel when I have to apply something and I really fail, to be honest.
Beautiful. I think this is a beautiful beginning, because we see that we fail, and
Yes.
we also see that this is not leading us anywhere. This continued expectation, demand from the other person to be loved in a certain way that I have in my head.
Yeah.
But this observation that you are sharing, I think that itself is a beautiful beginning, that we see that we fail and this is not taking us anywhere. And it also puts a lot of pressure on the other person also. Imagine that there is somebody else out there who is always wanting from you to be loving him or her in a certain way. I think so much burden uh, one carries because of that. So that is where we start. That is the starting point. This mixture of emotions, a drop of pure love and lots of expectations and demands. But it's beautiful to recognize that we are here. So it's a very good baby step that you are sharing, that I see that I am there, but we don't have to be there all the time. There are other things possible. This is just a stepping stone. This is just the first rung of the ladder where we start from, and then we uh, progress ahead. So in fact, this reminds me that mother has shared that, just if I can pull it out, mother has shared this rungs of love, rungs of human love, how we proceed. If I can find it, I'll just quickly bring it up. In the meantime, anything else, anyone, Shweta, if you want to add on anything? Okay. Okay, I've got it. I think I'll. So I'm just pulling it up. This rungs of love that mother shares. Maybe that will also make us a bit clear in this aspect. So this is the ladder, as if we start from here, but we don't have to remain stuck here. What Jeshi was sharing, I think all of us would resonate with what you are sharing. So human expression of love, how is it? If you love me, I love you. That's where we start from. If you don't love me, I don't love you. So, is the most common expression of human love. This is bargaining. And mother says that it's not love, it's a transaction. Like I give you 10 rupees, you give me 5 toffees. If I don't give you 10 rupees, then you don't give me 5 toffees. So it's almost like that. That's where we start from. If you love me, I love you. If you don't love me, I don't love you. This is the most common expression of human love. But mother says that this is bargaining. It's a kind of a soda. It's like a business transaction happening, and it's not love. And then mother shares that how we proceed. The first is, one loves because one cannot do otherwise. Just a second. Yeah. One loves because one cannot do otherwise but love. So the again, I think mother is taking from the highest possibility to the lowest possibility, where we can be and where we are. So it's a descending order that mother talks about. One loves because one cannot do otherwise but love. So that's our highest possibility, that we don't know any other way of operation but being loving. But we are not there. We, all of us, know that we are rarely at this highest possible scale of love. But let me start from the lowest possible, because maybe there we can have a connection. The lowest rung is love me and then I shall see if I can love you. So if I get love from somebody else, then maybe I will consider that if I can, extend some amount of affection, love, and generosity. That's the lowest possible ladder. Then getting it a bit up, increasing degree of consciousness. If you love me, I love you. So first you are waiting for receiving from outside, then opening your heart. That's the lowest possibility. Then it is that if you care for me, I will care for you. Then I would not think, but I will care. The lowest was that I will think of caring for you, loving for you. A bit higher is that if I get from outside, then I extend. Again, still it's a bargain. And then further up, or the person one loves should know that he is loved. So there is a approval seeking, that don't you know that I love you? So there is an approval seeking from outside, that you want the other person to know that you are doing this effort, and caring for the other person. That's a bit higher, although there is not much want in return, but there is still a want for approval. Then we get a little bit more, higher in degree of consciousness. If you don't love me, I shall love you, but one still wants one's love to be accepted. So imagine that you sent a flower to someone just to show that you care and respect, and you have feelings. If you sent a flower to someone, you are waiting to know whether the person has received the flower, or did he like the flower, or did he throw away the flower, is the flower in the dustbin or is it in the vase. So it's one is waiting for the love to be accepted. So that's again a bit higher, but still that demand is there, that expectation is there, that now you are not waiting for that person to send you back flowers, but at least whatever flowers I have sent, they must be accepted. Are they being rejected? So you are concerned. One part of the brain or the mind is still stuck over there. Then a bit higher rung of love is, if one loves regardless of one is loved or not, it begins to be true love. So now a purification is happening, that you still have a bond, you care for each other, and there is a affection, and you can't help but express that affection. You, whether the other person is giving you enough time, not enough time, you don't bother about that. Whenever that person interacts with you, you are by nature, you are extending out a loving support, a kind support. So one loves regardless of one is loved or not, then it begins to be true love. So these first, the higher three rungs that mother talks about, it is towards the higher spectrum of purified kind of understanding of love. Then comes a time that in my heart, with the feeling of love, that is enough. So there is no demand of any kind to manifest it out, express it out, and do something with these restless energies of love that I have. So, and one is love, one is perfectly satisfied with the feeling of one's love in my heart. That is giving me contentment. That's that feeling of loving someone. And the highest possibility for each one of us is one loves because one cannot do otherwise but love. So whether the love is accepted, rejected, insulted, not really taken care of, whenever the interaction happens between two sentient beings, there is nothing but a kindness and love. That's the highest possibility. So I'll take just a moment. My child is in the bathroom. I have to wash him and be back. Till then, please be ready with your reflections. I'll just be back in a minute. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Anything that you want to share, add on? Hi, Krish. Good to see you. Hi, Snehi. Any personal reflections, sharings are most welcome. Those of us who have tried to, recognize that the weakness that we have in human love and how we need to purify it.
Yeah, I want to share something.
Yeah, please.
I have read the book Secret, where we read about law of attraction. Like, what you give, you get it back in the same manner. So, in terms of love or giving affection or showing kindness, I have this question in my mind कि मैं तो अच्छी हूँ but फिर भी सामने वाला अच्छा नहीं रहता है कभी. So then in those situations, I start judging myself. I start talking negative about myself. खुद से ही फिर क्वेश्चन करती रहती हूँ और I see myself down. I put myself actually down. That negative talking makes me do that. So then I feel, how does the law of attraction works then? So कभी ये questions आते हैं.
बिल्कुल, और आने भी चाहिए, since we have capacity to understand and reflect, I think questions do come. Sri Aurobindo talks about there are some people who have, just a second, I pull it up again. Yeah, those. Yeah. So actually, our definitions of love are very mixed up, and they especially are mixed up because of the social conditioning that we get through Bollywood movies and Hollywood movies. Because we are shown that hugging, kissing, and being physically close to each other, that's love. So that's what we expect even from our day to day interactions also, that if a person is not hugging, caring, asking me, oh, would you go with me, you know uh, such kind of things, then it is not love. So our definitions of love are pretty mixed up. Now, I was reading this again, this compilation by Sri Aurobindo and Mother, and I came through this thing, and it really, really resonated too much. So here it says, some people are full of very pure, very high, selfless, psychic love, and yet they know nothing about it. So they themselves have no idea that they are loving in nature, because the way we keep comparing to the Bollywood, movies and dramas, what is love and what love is not, in front of that, these people will appear very cold and indifferent. So he's saying that some people are full of a pure kind of a love, psychic love coming from directly from the inner being, and yet they know nothing about it. They think that they are cold and dry and without love, because this is an admixture of vital vibration is absent. So this vital vibration means this wanting for emotional support, wanting for to be next to each other, going together wherever we go. All these attached aspects are missing, which are usually portrayed as love. So these people begin to think that they have no love. And then he says that these are actually people who have pure love, which is without any mixture of vital vibration. So that mixture is not there. It's a sorted kind of a thing. They are not wanting, demanding, and depending on other people for their emotional satisfaction. So again, I think we have to uh, clarify our images of love that we carry. So good to reflect over it, that and as you were sharing that, many a times I question that, would I still want to love when I see my love is not reciprocated? Now I have also asked that question many a times, and I have found myself in a state that there is no other possibility for me but to be loving. And loving doesn't mean, again, hugging, caring, affect, all these expressions of love. That's not love. Love is basically a feeling of, like, you want the benefit of the other. You want goodwill in the heart, an open heart. But what we use in the name of love is mostly that I want from you, and this dependency on each other, that we name as love. So ask yourself that would you still want to love or be loving even when you see that yes, love is not reciprocated in the way you would like. That's the higher possibility for us, that you can't help it. Like, imagine that you give people give things in charity, like people give food in charity or money in charity, and then whenever you are giving something in charity, you would see that many a times there is a want for recognition, that somebody may thank you and do like a gesture of thank you that you gave me, something like that. So imagine that you are giving and you don't get anything in reciprocation. In fact, you get abuses hurled at you. People insult you, reject you when you are giving. So would you stop giving? And if you would stop giving just because you get abused when you are giving, then okay, if you can do that. Or if you think that no, whether I get abused or accepted doesn't matter, I know this is the right way to go for me. That's the kind of stage we have to come at. So check it out. Yeah. Yes, Krish, please go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like your default inclination should be to give rather than to take. But I was going to say, sorry, it's early in the morning here, and I had a late night last night, so excuse if I start yawning from time to time. Love. I was in Vedanta. Love. It's quite a simple equation as well. They say that, yeah, as you said, as you were alluding to the Bollywood type of love that we see, that love plus selfishness equals attachment. So love plus selfishness equals attachment. So attachment is the clingy, the possessive type, the the possessiveness quality that this is mine, and she belongs to me, he belongs to me. So that's attachment, but attachment minus selfishness equates to love. But I love the stages that you had. That was quite relevant. And but they also Vedanta, they've got a different type of system as well, where they say about love is about your identification, who you identify with. So at the lowest level, you have, let's say, I identify with me, myself, my problems. So that's your primary. So that's your lowest level of love. And then if you extend it outwards, your sphere of identification, if you extend it outwards, your next sphere will be me and my family. That's who I immediately identify with. And then if you extend it outwards again, a higher level, it would be me and my community and my friends, extended family and whatnot. My level of love is greater amongst these people. And then you extend it outwards, it'd be my city or whatnot, or my nation. And then you extend it outwards, then it would be my ethnicity, my racial group. But then the highest one would be universal love, where you see love in everybody, regardless of ethnicity or color, creed, or difference, that you see a unity amongst everybody. So that's called universal love, where there's no difference. Because if you think about empathy and love as well, if you had some kind of, I don't know, empathy detection device, you would see that often most humans, we are attached to our tribes and our groups, and if we could detect our level of empathy, it would be seen that we actually display and exhibit more empathy towards our own group. So if something new, a news story came about that affected your particular tribe, there would be more empathy displayed towards that particular tribe than a tribe that is separate from you, that is different from you. So obviously, the more spiritual you become, those demarcations and differences dissolve. You see a universal essence in everybody. So that's a marker of your spirituality and a marker of your love, essentially.
Yeah.
where you don't feel scared of going into one group. You know, if it's a Muslim area, you don't feel threatened, because there's a lot of people who do. They won't go into a church because it's got a certain group of people. They won't go into a certain area. So that's the ego. The ego is frightened of
Yes,
because
yes.
it's so attached to its identity, and which it's in which it's in love with.
Yeah,
But yeah.
yeah, beautiful. Yes. I think it would do us a lot of good if Bollywood starts making movies in which a kind of love is shown which is more of a self-giving nature. It would really, really help because, yeah, Jayashree, yes.
Yeah, yeah, very true. And I also have that fear of rejection. It's like if I don't show my love or affection, will I be rejected by the other person? वो एक fear भी रहता है मुझे हमेशा.
Yeah, yeah. I think one thing which I am learning through my own relationships is that they provide a beautiful opportunity to refine this mixture that we have. I think that's where I resonate with this article of Nolinida that we are reading. To love man is more superior than to love divine. Because to love a man, you have to cope up with, okay, you are insulted. No, divine is never going to insult you. You know, the divine is not standing in front of you. It's an impersonal aspect that you are communicating with. So there is no aspect of, oh, he hurled, he rejected me, for example, because while in front of human relations we see the expression on somebody's face, and that appears like an expression of rejection, and we get swayed by that rejection. So in front of that chaotic influences and triggers through the senses that keep barging in, to still continue to be nothing but love, I think that's even a bigger challenge than to just love the divine. That would I still love if I'm rejected like the way I am? Yes, Krish, please go ahead.
I was going to say, loving unconditionally with expecting nothing in return is divine.
Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. So I think it's our human relationships provide a beautiful battleground, I would say, for that, like a gymnasium, that would you still love? And I have been, this has been one of my, I would say, major grounds of learning human relationship, and to know that I can't help but love. There are few psychic bonds, deeper bonds that we have, where you can't help but love. There is no other possibility that you have. So at times you may still get into your moods and reject the person and not pick up the calls and all that. We keep on doing that. But there are a few relationships where you can't do that. You don't have the possibility. It's like a choicelessness which is there, that whether the other person has time for you, no time for you, rejects you at times, doesn't respond the way you would want him or her to respond, but you can't help but be loving and kind and with a goodwill. So I think these are specifically those grounds for us where we can really refine our love, that to let go slowly, to let wither away all the expectations and demands, and one is choicelessly loving. One can't help it, because when we are unloving we are actually hurting our own self also. When we are trying to shell ourselves, protect ourselves so that you would not be hurt, I think in that we hurt ourselves a lot. And while if I keep my heart open, whether or not the other person approves or rejects me, doesn't matter, always am my bestest friend. So this capacity of being my bestest friend is also given to me in these kind of situations, that okay, doesn't matter if that person has time or not for me, but I have time for myself. I would take care of myself. So I am there for myself also, and I am there otherwise also if there is any need that arises. So not leaving our own side, I think, to be our bestest companion. Because whenever many a times we feel rejected, insulted by other persons, in human love, where we leave our side, we abandon ourselves. So then to tell myself that no matter other person can take care of me or not, because everybody has their own priorities, and I won't get every time what I am desiring from the other person. So let me stand by myself, let me take care of myself. That really fulfills me. I feel that really fulfills the heart.
Yeah, I was just going to add that probably also love is also accepting the other person for who they are, like their nature, because quite often we get ourselves into an emotional tangle because we want the other person to conform to our likes and dislikes, the way we want them to behave. And that's what if it disrupts our desires, our expectations, that's when anger and negative emotions arise. So just pure acceptance of who they are, elevate their consciousness, but acceptance of who they are is an expression of love.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, it is. To honor their choice, to honor their freedom, space, and also, as you said, to honor their feelings, So if their ways are not resonating with my ways, I have to honor their ways also, just like the way I care for my ways. Absolutely, totally. And this would take care of, I think, so much of entanglements if we can appreciate that. Yes. But I think this happens parallelly. If I am honoring my life and nurturing my life, then it is much easier for me to honor anybody else's life, and to respect their space and freedom and choice also.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, anyone wants to add on?
I'm gonna get some tea.
Of course, yeah, please go ahead. So I think I was sharing that with Bollywood, it would really help because our teenagers and youth, young adults, uh, from where we begin to learn our lessons of love, I would say, so much influence of movies that goes around. It would really, really help, either if we don't show these movies to youngsters, which can't be helped at certain age, they would go out and watch for themselves, because in Bollywood or in most movies, the aspect of love that is portrayed is, okay, this is love when we are tied and glued to each other, and we are very possessive about each other, and we are ready to kill any other person who wants to take my beloved. So these kind of things are portrayed as love, which I think is very dangerous, because then this is what I demand from my life also. While if I am shown through the Bollywood movies, the aspects of pure love, which is nothing but a kind of a self-giving. Okay, how can I benefit you? I am taking care of myself. I am fulfilled in myself. But let me know, how can I help you? How can I extend my help to you, assistance to you, care and support? Nothing that I demand of you. That kind of a love, I think, is more required, so that we take in those impressions also. So I'll, if not any further reflection, I'll just continue a bit. We can maybe take up, not everything, but a bit we can take up today. Uh, yeah, this Manush Bhajan. So we did this, and then we have to, maybe we can take up this paragraph today. So I'll just read it out for all of us, and then we can share reflections. So he's sharing that when we turn to the divine, then this feeling of getting attracted to the body and the feeling of wanting to possess the other person, they don't get any support when we turn to the divine. But when I think of the divine, these two feelings get no support at all. It seems too silly to cast an angry glance at the divine and call it mine. So on a person, we can cast an angry glance that, hey, you didn't do what I expected of you. But on divine, you can't cast this angry glance. You can remain angry with the divine within your head, but you can't cast this glance, manifestation of anger, or want to possess the other, the divine. So it seems too silly to cast an angry glance at it and call it mine. The demands of the body find no place to play in the mind. Because the first and the simple thing about the divine is this, that he belongs not only to me but to all, and that he has no physical body as I have. At least I cannot catch hold. So just like this is a phone, I can grip it, and call it mine. But this cannot happen in case of uh, the divine, because there is nothing that I can catch hold of and say, oh, this is mine. I cannot grasp the divine, catch the divine. While in case of human beings, still, because they have bodies and we think that they are starting and ending with the bodies. So this person belongs to me. There also this aspect of grasping can have its play. But when we think of the divine, then it cannot have its play. So I cannot catch hold. Therefore, when these two demands fall off, we are as if freed from the two main responsibilities of love, and our inner being, relieved from worries to a certain extent, searches for other ways of loving the divine. So those two ways in which I usually love a human being, wanting to possess or wanting some kind of satisfaction through the body, they don't find any support when we turn to the divine. And when we turn to the divine, then another possibility can arise. Okay, how shall I show and manifest my love for the divine? So I can look for other possibilities. That is why I say that it is easier to love the divine than to man, because we are rid of two main worries and entanglements: getting attached to the physical body and the want to possess the other person. These two worries are taken care of. And then he shares, if we want to return again to man, even after failing to satisfy all the expectations, then those expectations will again revive in us. But if we want to go to the divine, we are to cut off the roots of all those expectations. Isn't it easier to be sure of no expectation in hopelessness rather than await hopefully in expectation? So he's sharing that why divine love is easier than loving a human being. Because in divine love, there is no possibility of wanting to possess, and there is no possibility of getting a physical satisfaction from the divine. So he's saying that that is easier. While if we again get into human love, then we see that these expectations of, as Jayashree was sharing, wanting the other person to behave in a certain way so that I feel loved, this begging kind of mentality that we have, this again arises, and then it's difficult for us. Then he says, it is not man's defect, but the defect of the way in which he loves. It is difficult to love man than to love the divine. Difficult indeed, but not impossible. And because it is difficult, that is why I say to love man is superior than to love the divine. So being in the middle of stickiness and yet not being sticky, to being in the middle of possibilities of expectations and demands, and yet to hold our ground and not to expect and demand, and yet live from our true center, which is love. That's, he's saying that it is a higher possibility for us. So we don't need to turn to the divine and get rid of all our human relationships. In the middle of human relationships, if we can have such kind of a non-sticky love, that he says is more superior than to in one room all by ourselves loving the divine but not caring for the human relationships. Rings a bell, I would say. Yeah. Yeah, any reflections here? Anyone?
Yeah, what you said about it's more difficult to love man than it is to love the divine. That's so true. Yeah, but I think Christ as well. Christ, um, he expressed it in the highest of ways as well. He said that, love your enemy, even those who persecute you. You should love them. That's kind of the highest form of love if you think about it. But yeah, it's very difficult to love man more than the divine. But that is, as I said, it's a divine expression of love.
I think it's beautiful, this whole journey, if one can take it as a journey of this refinement of this admixture that we have. That first we start with this human entanglement, and we see that, oh, I'm not getting what I really want from this entanglement. No matter how much I give, I don't get anything in return. So in disenchantment, we turn to the divine because we are seeking this fulfillment which we are not getting from human affairs. And then he's talking about a mixture of both. So he says first we most of us enter into spirituality knowing that we can't get anything from the human thing, and then we turn to the divine. And I think what he later on also comes at is that now we have to integrate both, to have that divine love, pure love in our heart,
Mm-hmm.
and yet not demand anything from human love, and to give. Basically, to love is to give, to offer ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. To give, that should be, as I said, the default inclination. Because even in relationships, when you were talking about Bollywood before, if you were now to go to any dating site, for example, the list of demands people make on both sides, men and women, it's like there's a whole bucket list of I want this from the other, I want that. So you're trying to extract, take from the other. So it's a very take culture. I need this, I want this. It's not I can offer this, I can give this. The predisposition is what can I get from the other rather than what can I give to the other. And that's why relationships are all breaking down, because your expectations are not being met, rather than you're not using this relationship as a chance to elevate one another, as well as parallelly you're elevating your own consciousness as well. So yeah,
Absolutely. I think this beggar tendency is what required a switch. That is the switch that is required. What can I get to what can I give? What can I offer?
absolutely.
Yeah. There was a episode of Upanishad Ganga. So there is this TV series long back it started, and one of the episodes they talk about this king called Bhrithari, who also wrote Vairagya Shatkam. So he got disenchanted from the world, and there it is shared that he gets a fruit which is a fruit of immortality and youthfulness from a sadhu, from a sage. He gets this fruit. Now he is involved in an extramarital kind of an affair with some lady. So what he does is that he does not eat the fruit himself, because he's consuming this lady every time. So he says, okay, let me offer this fruit to this lady who is the object of my consumption, so that she remains youthful and I can continue consuming. So he gives this fruit. When the night time falls, he goes in hiding and he gives this fruit to this lady. Now it is shown that this lady is in another affair with somebody else. So funny,
Yeah.
and this lady goes in hiding at another
Yeah.
night time and gives this fruit to that person
Yeah.
who is the object of her consumption, to in order so that she can continue consuming, and she can continue fulfilling her desires. So it goes like this, that they go on and on and on from one person to another and another. Finally, actually, it comes back to Brithari.
Oh, hilarious.
Because his wife is also engaged in some extramarital affair.
Oh no. Oh, that's a great story. You're gonna have to send me that story, please. That's funny. That's
I will
hilarious.
send you that episode of Upanishad Ganga. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
very saddening also. So
Yeah.
finally, when that fruit comes back to him,
Hmm.
now he realizes that I am the object of consumption for my wife, and for my wife, it could be somebody else and somebody else, like that. And then he sees that, oh my God, everybody is begging. Everybody is in this cycle of consumption and wanting from.
Mm.
This arises a lot of disenchantment from the worldly life in that king. And then he writes a beautiful poetry. It's called Vairagya Shatkam. That getting a kind of a disenchantment and disillusionment from the worldly existence.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to read that. Now, please do send it or share it with the group as well.
I
That'd be
will,
that'd be
yeah,
fun.
I will share it. Yes, yes. So I think to see that we all are begging,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
can I be one drop of begging less
Mm.
in this world of begging?
Amen to that.
Yeah. So maybe we're taking up another few lines, and then we can see where to go ahead. To love man and to love the divine. I was comparing these two. I was saying that to love man is difficult than and superior to loving the divine, because to love the divine means to discard the body and life, means the physical body and the human emotions that we have, and to unite with the bodiless, with the soul. To love man means to keep the body and life intact, to satisfy their demand, and in the process to effect the union of two souls, not only of two souls, but the unification of two bodies, two lives, and two minds. But it is very difficult to embody and live that pure ananda of the soul by body and life through enjoyment in this very world and things. So I remember, once Jetsunma Tenzing Palmu was sharing that once, she was invited by a princess somewhere in Thailand, and she was kept in a lot of luxury, like a swimming pool to herself and all that. And she really felt very awkward and uncomfortable with that, because she was a just newly ordained nun at that time. And she said, no, I can't indulge myself in all these things. So then she had a word with the princess who was taking care of her. And she said that, why do you feel uncomfortable? These things that have come to you, you didn't demand for them. They just came to you. So when they are there, you enjoy them. And when they are not there, you let them go. So I think this non-stickiness, if we can develop slowly, becoming conscious that we do stick to everything that comes in our life, like a honeybee sticks to honey all the time. So if that can, the stickiness that can be taken care of, I think we have no problems to be in relationships, if not for the obsession that we develop, that if not for this person, how will I live my life? If not for this approval and want that I want to get fulfilled, how will I live my life? So this absolute addictive dependency, begging like dependency, on another person, that's the point of our torture. If we can take care of that, and then we can enjoy whatever comes, let it come. When it goes, we let it go, because that's not how I complete myself. There are other inner means with which I complete myself. And to also know that this idea of consuming and possessing and wanting the other person to behave in a certain way, or to be mine, is not love but consumption. Like I give 10 rupees and I get 5 rupees, 5 chocolates back. So I'm consuming. So I give you love and you give me back now. This can't be equated with love. So changing, I think, reflecting of on our ideas of love that we have in mind. Yes, Krish.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking out loud here. You know, with love, do you think the romantic love that we see, do you think that kind of has its roots in um, the love of a parent that we expect? Because if you think about it, you know, as humans, when we're born, there's a lot of energy and resources required to raise a child. We're not very self-sufficient from the get-go. You know, like animals, you know, they can be quite self-sufficient from an early age, but the amount of resources and love and care that we have to plow into a child, you know, is far greater. And then there's probably, you know, the child has an expectation of this love, and then you're being showered with love by your parents, and maybe that type of expectation, that dependency, um, filters into, you know, that kind of conditions us, our the way we think, and it's an expectation we have later on in life. So, you know, we expect it in romantic relations. It has its roots in childhood. I'm just thinking, perhaps.
Yeah, I think quite possible. Why not? Since everything leaves us with an imprint.
Yeah,
Yeah, so quite possible
the,
that it has an effect.
yeah. I was going to say, because the dependency is very real at a young age, isn't it? I mean, there is a dependency. We are born dependent,
Yeah.
but obviously, the true love is that which makes you independent.
And where you are also helping out the other person to be independent, because
Exactly. Yeah.
mostly I feel very secure because of our insecurities that the other person may not leave me. If the other person becomes too independent and secure, then there is an insecurity arising in me that what if the other person leaves me?
Yeah. Yeah.
He becomes so secure and independent that he has his own independent life. I think
Absolutely.
that would be actually the truest kind of love. Totally
Yeah.
secure.
100%.
That you actually want the most benefit of the other person, that may that person be totally secure and
Yeah.
independent, and you yourself are working on it and making yourself secure and independent, and there is also a distance and free space in this kind of a love, and yet a
Mm.
true bond is there. That would be,
No,
I think, really
absolutely.
something, lots of courage required.
But also as well, even a step above that is like, if anyone you depend on, if they were to become deceased, for example, and that's where most people are pretty much a bereavement away from going into mental breakdown, because, you know, their love is so attached to another. They're placing their love, you know, in their children, and if anything were to happen to any person close to someone, you know, most people are, as I said, they're one step away from breaking down, and that's not a real type of a love. A real type of love will sustain you through any weather, any storm. That's the true type of love. If it's a love that basically, you know, that will destroy you if in its absence, then, you know, it's not a healthy type of love.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I remember, once there was a funeral of someone I knew, my relative. And of course, whenever there is a funeral, everybody has their attachments and they come cry and weep about the person who is gone. So this lady came and she was crying about the person who was her friend. And what she was sharing was actually mind opening. She said that, now, whom shall I call every Saturday? Because every Saturday I used to call this person who now is gone away. So it is starking to see that what I'm actually crying for is my dependency on that person. That nobody cries for anyone but their own selves. That now what would happen of me every Saturday, this person used to call me and we used to have a conversation.
Precisely. Yeah. Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
And if I truly loved a person, I think I often reflect over it, that if I truly loved a person, cared, and want the benefit of that person, then wouldn't I want that may that person be totally secure and grounded in his own self? May that person be not dependent on me, who may be the object of love. A kind of a really, like a freeing and courage giving kind of a love.
100%.
Yeah.
Without me, you'll be fine. You'll be.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think lots of guts required on our part also, because to be totally secure and grounded in our own being, so that we can facilitate the grounding of somebody else in his own being. Yeah. And not feel insecure by that grounding, because many a times we feel insecure that what if the other person becomes too secure, then anything can happen and the life's unfolding may kind of take him away from me. Can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, any last reflections? We'll take the rest of the passage maybe next time. Any last reflections? Any comments?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think reading back on the passage, I think for this, I can't remember what was said. Yeah, so yeah, to love the divine means to discard the body and life and to unite with the bodiless, with the soul. So absolutely. So when you start to unite with that which never lets you down, that's always there. That's your inner essence. Then all your attachments and bonds will slowly start to dissolve. You'll have more of a higher level perception, bird's eye view of love and a universal love. So that is what we all must strive for ultimately.
Absolutely, absolutely. And to bring that kind of pure, non-sticky love in the middle of, all the relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Which, as Sri Aurobindo was saying, that to many people it may actually look like cold and indifferent, because our ideas and images of love are mostly coming from the Bollywood space. Yeah. And they talk about disinterested love, that pure love is more of a disinterested kind, which means that I don't have any personal motive and interest that I'm offering this love, because many a times we feel that what is wrong with that person, why is he extended too much of affection to me, why is that happening? So we feel that always we have a motive behind everything. So when we can't help but be loving, then there is no motive. It's a motiveless, disinterested love. So to have, I think that's really something to strive for, as you are sharing. Really
Yeah,
something to look forward to.
that's where all wisdom emanates from. That motiveless, disinterested love. That's where all
Yeah,
wisdom arises from.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because mostly in romantic love, if we see, when we are extending too much affection and whatever, physical intimacy, always there is an aspect of consumption, that you will satisfy my desires. So it's always not a disinterested love. It's always full of my personal motives.
Absolutely.
But there is hope for us with all these discussions and reflections. So yes. So I think taking a pause here for today, and we'll continue with these reflections next time. So thanks everyone for joining in, and thank you Krish for being so
No,
early. And what
no,
time
no.
is it today?
7:30 in the
Okay.
morning.
Thank you, Jayashree. Thank you for joining.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Namaste, everybody. Okay. Bye bye.
Thank you. Krish, you wanted to talk?
Oh yeah, yeah.